Welcome back, everybody. This is episode number 21 of Real Country Jukebox Podcast with Raymond and myself. I'm James. Hope everybody's having a good day. What's up, Raymond?
What's going on, man? Did you have a good day?
I did, man. I went to Wilmington and met an old buddy that I've known for 30 years, and we hung out and I took in some sights and enjoyed the weather. Had a couple of rainstorms, but
Man.
How was your day?
It was good. Yeah, I didn't see the kayak. I was surprised. Did you
Too
do
hot.
any of that?
Way too hot
Oh,
for
really?
that. Yeah, just too hot. Even if I go early, it's just too hot.
I heard that. Well, some of us got to work, so
That's
there
right.
I was. But
If I had money like you and had a boat, it'd be one thing. I could get some breeze, but being I got a kayak, paddling in 95-degree weather is not fun.
That's true. Anyway, today, as you heard Tracy Lawrence sing about the lessons learned, that's the title of this podcast. There's so many country songs that teach you valuable lessons, and that's one thing I love about country music is a lot of the good country music is full of life lessons, and some of them are straightforward and some of them you kind of got to look for, but they're in there. So I've kind of got mine ordered from 10th down to 1, and we're going to start there. I'm going to start with The Chain of Love by Clay Walker. It's just a good song about this man stopping to help this lady that had a flat tire on the side of the road, and he got her going, and when she left there, she went to the diner where his wife works at, not knowing it was his wife, and left a very generous tip, and they were pregnant and didn't have a lot of money. So it just goes to show you what goes around comes around, and help people when you can. And I just think there's a good lesson to be learned from that song.
I agree, and that song kind of gets lost in the shuffle of all the big Tracy Lawrence. The big Clay Walker, I always get him and Tracy Lawrence mixed up. They remind me a lot of each other, but it always kind of gets mixed up in the flow of all Clay Walker's hits.
Yeah.
That's a easily forgotten song sometimes on his set list, but it should always be done because, yeah, man, there's a lot you can learn from that song.
Yeah, I agree. I
like
it.
that pick.
Me too.
I've got Letter to Me by Brad Paisley. This song obviously is him talking to his younger teenage self and even adolescent self at his age he is now. He was probably around 40 maybe when he wrote the song. But there's life lessons in there too, because he's talking about all the different things throughout his adolescence and through his teenage life that he kind of originally was hoping he'd have done differently, but then they turn out to be blessings instead of curses. Basically, the point of that song and the life lesson to be learned is a lot of times it's hard to see past what's right in front of you, but those things that you think are trials are things that's making you grow and whatnot. And basically what seems bad to him then turned out to be a greater good, and what seems bad for a lot of us is actually leading us somewhere good. Lessons learned, things you can help other people with, and things you can help yourself with. So if you ever listen to that song Letter to Me, he's talking about how the majority of the things that his younger self feared or thought was going wrong, how they turned out to be good, and that can happen to all of us throughout our life.
Yeah, I'm sure this is going to happen more than once, but since you just mentioned Letter to Me, I had that also, so I'm going to skip out on that. You said everything I could say and hit Choices by George Jones.
Yes.
I know this is a country music podcast, and I know everyone loves George Jones, whatever. I've always respected him. I didn't come to really listen to his music a whole lot until the show George and Tammy came on. And I really dug deep into him since then. And you're not going to find me very often, driving 70 with the windows down and have George Jones cranked up. But there's a time and a place for his music, and Choices is just, bottom line, if you were born in this country, you got choices, and I think that every choice you make affects your life one way or the other. I guess what I'm trying to say is, that nothing's fair, but if you're born here in a free area, then you can make choices to better your life or worse.
Yeah, and it's never too late if you've made a bad choice, kind of like he made some in that song. Raymond hit that perfectly, but a lot of the choices, if you never look back and think, I made this bad choice and I'm doomed forever. You can do one or two things with bad choices. You can either learn from them and move on, or you can soul can, think it's going to just sit there and get better, but you got to make things get better.
Yeah.
So that is a really, really good song.
Yeah, that's right.
I got Life's a Dance by John Michael Montgomery. That one's pretty cut and dry, sink or swim. You got to give it a whirl, as he says in that song. You learn as you go, you lead, you follow. You got to give to receive. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to learn. I mean, life's a dance, and it really is. And you learn as you go. And the whole thing about you can lead or you can follow is you really need to lead, because when you get to a point in age where you know what's right for you and you know what's right in life, you need to be a leader to those that don't, because you were once that person. So I like that song a lot. I like John Michael Montgomery a lot, and I think that teaches some valuable lessons.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yep. That is a good song. My next one, Some of It by Eric Church.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was probably the best song on that album, Desperate Man, is what I believe it was off of.
I think it's the best song too on that one.
Yeah, there's just so many references that you can learn a lot about life just by the 2 verses in that song, So that's one of my favorites off that album.
I got Unanswered Prayer by Garth Brooks. I think that's a pretty popular one for this category. And y'all know that basically the song starts out from the perspective of him and his high school sweetheart. He's praying and praying and praying to God that, she'll be the one, that they'll wind up getting married, that everything will be fruitful. It doesn't work out. He moves on with his life. He winds up with a better life. And he sees her down the road, and he realizes, he makes a connection, but he realizes why it didn't work out, and now he's glad it didn't work out. And like he says in the song, it's pretty cut and dry. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Remember when you're talking to him that he knows what he's doing after all, even when you think he don't. And that's very true. We're both Christian guys, so we believe that. And, when God doesn't answer a prayer, maybe he really is answering it. And just not the way you want it. And sometimes it takes years, sometimes it takes not that long, sometimes it takes longer. But you eventually will realize that. So to me, that's a good song, and I've always loved it.
Yeah, and I didn't get into this. I thought about it. There's so many good lines in Some of It by Eric Church. Not to backtrack, but there's where he says, "Mama ain't shrink, Daddy ain't banking, God ain't wishing well." If you're like me, a lot of times when you're praying can become very routine. You're kind of saying the same things over and over and over, and it's like, I pray that, I don't know, it's something very simple. They ain't no real big deal, but you pray for it.
Yeah.
But there's some people that have serious, it's almost like more like you're making a wish, other than I'm praying for this to happen, like this is going to really affect my life type thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how kind of like unanswered prayers is. And there's no one on my list.
That's a good similarity.
I ain't give it away yet, but there's no one on my list where the guy kind of mentioned something similar to that. But yeah, the unanswered prayers thing, I think that happens to people all the time, and you don't really grow out of that.
Yeah, and I know I've had a lot of things that I've prayed for in my life that at the point in my life I am now, I'm glad that God didn't answer them, or that he did answer them, but not in the way I wanted
Well,
to.
the funny thing is, Garth was still kind of like saying, like, she's a nice girl and everything. She just ain't who I remember her to be. But there's some things I think of that I prayed for back in the day. I'm like, good gracious, thank God that didn't happen. I can't give it no good. I can't give nothing good about it at all. But my next one's Life Happens by Thomas Rhett. And of course a helicopter will come up. It's like we got Commando out here.
It'll be quick. You'll get it up.
But anyway, Life Happens by Thomas Rhett. That's a song I almost didn't want to put it because the backtrack of it is so, the backing of the song is so popular. But the lyrics are so spot on, and they're true for him, and they're true for most everybody. He's pretty much just saying all this different stuff. He was basically saying all this different stuff that he was trying to do. It turns out is that opposite. And then the very last line when he was talking about becoming a dad and the kid was less than 2, and he was trying to figure out how he was going to do it. He found out his wife's pregnant all at the same time. So now it's like they got 2 under 2, is what he said.
Cool story, yeah.
Yeah. So I just, and like I said, I'm not big on the pop music in the background, but Thomas Rhett, I've told you before, I like the way that he writes some of his stuff, especially about his family. And this podcast has led me to believe I'm a bigger Thomas Rhett fan than I thought I was, because I bring him up all the time.
And unless he's fooling us all, that is a good stand-up guy. Unless he's got us all fooled, and I don't think he does.
Yeah, well, there's one line in there in the chorus that says, you never know what's going to happen. You make your plans and you hear God laughing. Yeah, and someone...
And I'm sure he is.
It was either Robin or Wayne one actually mentioned that in one of the Facebook group posts when it said
Robin or Wayne Lilly?
Yeah,
I got you.
It said what's your favorite line from a country song. They mentioned that one, and it's true though, because like make plans if you want to.
That's right. That's right. God might be laughing.
Yeah.
And another thing about that, you mentioned it about not liking kind of the poppy back noise or kind of poppy sound.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all like some pop songs, but not in our country music. That's what this is about. If I had to take a choice between poppy music in the background or bad lyrics, at least the lyrics are good. I'll take a good lyric over a poppy sound all day. I'm 100% with you.
That's true.
But I'm glad the lyrics are there anyway, because I'm a lyric guy. I know you are too. So another one I got, and I know this one's going to be on your list because you talked about this guy a lot. So if I say too much, you go and jump in and say whatever you need to. But I've got "You Got to Stand for Something" by Aaron Tippin. Everybody knows it was his debut single, I believe. You've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. If you don't stand up for things, like the song says, you're going to fall for stuff because you're going to have no backbone whatsoever. People are going to walk all over you. People's ideas, theories, even if they're wrong, are going to walk all. I mean, you just may as well be in an ironing board. So you've got to stand up, especially. I mean, you don't have to be a loudmouth and arrogant and boastful and stuff like that, but you need to stand up for what's right. We should all be doing that. Like he said, never compromise what's right and uphold your family name. I love that song, and I love everything it says, and it reminds me of, this is getting off country music a little bit, and I'm a big Carolina basketball fan. Dean Smith had a quote that he used for years, and the quote was, never brag about doing what's right, just do it. So that kind of trickles off that to me, because I'm thinking, not that that's completely what Aaron Tippin was saying here, but it just do what's right. Don't do it in a boastful light and brag about it so you can be seen and heard, but just do what's right. And I mean, as often as you can, we're all human. But I just like the theories of that quote and of that Aaron Tippin song.
Yeah, and most of the time, when people brag about it, it takes away from the sincerity of what they done, or they didn't do as much as they thought they did, so they had to let everyone else know they did it.
Right, humble bragging.
Yeah.
They like to call it.
Yeah. My next one is That's What I've Been Told by Riley Green. Huge Riley Green fan. He does no wrong in my book. I'm actually going to go see him tomorrow night at Red Hat. That was the Dale Earnhardt tribute.
Oh, that is tomorrow night. Okay. I didn't know.
I thought you picked up on that.
I did not, man. You told me you were going to a Dale Earnhardt tribute, and I'm thinking, there ain't nothing against Dale Earnhardt. He's had a million fans, but I'm thinking, why are you going to a Dale Earnhardt tribute? So,
well, I love Riley Green, but he mentions them in every song.
That makes sense now, though. I've had so much going on, man. It just did not register. But now,
it's Dale Earnhardt featuring Crimson Tide, and Riley Green may be there. I ain't sure.
Riley Green with special guest Dale Earnhardt.
But anyway, yeah, that's what I've been told. Me and my brother Cody, who's also going with me to the concert. Well, we actually all are, because I'm sure some of the other ones watch the podcast too. So we're all going, my whole family. But me and Cody, a lot of times, if we messed up in life and we know, and we might not advertise it to the world, which the world don't care, but if we talk to each other about it, which we share a lot of stuff,
Sure.
like later on we'll say like, don't shoot at a buck through the brush. At least that's what I've been told. I mean, some stuff, like you shoot, you think you shoot the wrong or something like that. And because obviously the whole song, whether it's true or not, he's explaining like, I've done all of this and I'm just pulling it off on like somebody's told me not to.
Yeah.
But the whole song's just, it's really good. I love it.
Is it Red Hat?
Yep. Yeah, and that was the line where he says, if you're just saying prayers, you ain't really praying. I love that part, because sometimes, man, it is so, it's so quick to, in other words, we pretty much know we're getting 3 square meals a day if that's what we decide to eat. So you pray, you're thanking God, but it ain't the same prayer that you would make if you had been 4 days with no food, you didn't know where your last meal was coming from. Somebody bless you with a meal, you're going to pray for that one.
Right.
You know, and I feel like a lot of my prayers get routine sometimes.
We all do.
So,
But yeah, I mean, y'all are the, you know, we live in Greenville, so, or around the Greenville area, so we most of the time have to go to Raleigh to see a good concert. If y'all folks that are in the Raleigh area, if you haven't seen Riley Green, go see him if you're out there. And Red Hat's so cool because Walnut Creek is just so big and, you know, almost claustrophobic, even though it's big. I know that sounds like a double negative, but it's just so big. Red Hat's half the size, maybe.
I prefer
just
Red Hat.
Anywhere. I mean, you can be at the back of the grass and see good at Red Hat.
Yep.
It's almost like sitting in a seat at Walnut Creek. But if you're in Raleigh, go.
Everything about the Red Hat makes it easier than Walnut Creek, except for there's no shelter. And I've been caught in rain more times than not there, and might tomorrow night. Actually had several shows delayed there because of storms. And they don't have no big screens. So if you ain't really, but it's like a Little League baseball.
You don't need a screen at this place.
It's not very big. It's my favorite venue in Raleigh, at least.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I guess it's your turn.
This may seem a little off, but I think it'll make sense when I get to it. There's life lessons to be learned in The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. Everybody knows the line, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And that's true of everything. You got to know when to walk away, know when to run. Sometimes you really need to trot. I mean, some things you just need to get away from in life. But, and this song doesn't matter if you're talking about love, money, or any kind of endeavors in life. Know when to cut your losses, know when to stop, know when to, it's enough of this and to move on to something positive. Also, understand the danger of drawing unnecessary attention to yourself. So it's not only like life lessons if you're playing a card game, if you do that. I mean, a lot of people do that on a regular basis. That's like their Friday night routine or whatever. But there's a lot of life lessons as well in this song. So you could take The Gambler several ways, and it probably wasn't intended this way, but there's a lot of life lessons to learn from it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know, that song reminds me a lot of Ace in the Hole by George Strait. I don't have it up here, but the meanings are kind of the same.
Right.
My next one is Where Corn Don't Grow, also by Riley Green. I chose Riley Green's version because I like it the best, and every time it's redone, it keeps getting better. I thought Travis Tritt's was better than Waylon's, and I think Riley Green's is better than Travis Tritt's.
I was going to say, didn't Waylon do the original? Yeah, you nailed it.
Well, the thing about Riley Green's is, and I love Waylon's version, I love Travis Tritt's version, but for some reason, I know this sounds weird, but when Riley Green sings the song, I guess it's because of knowing his other songs that he's put out, and just having backstory on them anyway, being such a big fan. I'm actually a bigger fan of his than I am Travis Tritt's or Waylon's. I love both of them guys, but I feel like I'm almost on the porch too, as like another brother hearing the conversation between them, and basically, you know, he's asking his dad, like, you know, don't you have any kind of dreams other than just being here every single day? And the dad basically just said, you know, like, the grass ain't always greener, you know, and he found out the hard way in the song. So I definitely think Where Corn Don't Grow is a lesson learned song.
It is. I've got Bless the Broken Road by Rascal Flatts. And that one's very, very cut and dry and very basic. Basically, we've all been through some kind of heartbreak in our life, whether it's in a dating situation or either other life's, you know, ups and downs. But the song's basically talking about all the heartbreak that you're going through is pointing you to where you need to go, accepting things that don't work out, and things that God bless the broken road, as in these things that I've gone through make me better, stronger, and smarter in life. So there's a lot of life lessons in that song, not just on the love front, but just in general.
That's a good one. My next one is The Road You Leave Behind by Dave Lee Murphy. I love that song, which I love most of everything Dave Lee Murphy does, but there's something about that song that really resonates to me a lot recently, because, and I've always really loved it, but you know, you listen to that song and you think, well, that song came out in the 90s, and the stories he was talking about more likely took place in the 60s or 70s, and people have changed, they don't care to help anyone anymore, stuff like that. But I tell a quick story, and I'll condense it just for the sake of saving everyone's time, but a couple months ago, I was on my way home from work, and I was driving down 903, and this is Pitt County. Nobody there knows me. If this happened in Martin County, anywhere east of Williamston, in 5 minutes, even with no cell phone, someone's picking me up and taking me home because everyone knows me. I mean, we all know each other. But this is in Pitt County. I don't know no one. They don't know me neither. Well, my car started acting funny, so I pulled over at the only driveway that was in the area. It was at a place called JJ's, and it's like a bar and grill. I pulled in there, and as soon as I pulled in, I shut the car off, popped the hood, went right to work. The gravel was scalding hot. I'm wearing khakis and a polo, trying to squeeze my big tail up under a Firebird on the ground to take a hose off. And you know, the owner comes out and asked me, do I need help? And I told him no, that I had done called the auto parts store, and the part weren't in. They could get me one overnight, but I wouldn't be able to fix it till tomorrow. I was just trying to get it ahead as I could, and I done called my wife. And he was like, well, come on in and get an air condition, you know, and have you a drink or whatever. And I told him, I said, well, I weren't planning on stopping anywhere. I ain't got no cash on me. Do y'all take a debit card? He said, no, it's cash only, but as long as you're here, it's an open tab, whatever you need. I'm just glad you're off that road. And when I finally got my part and got back to working on it, since I was actually trying to help myself, I had 2 construction workers stop by. They were on their lunch break, had a Hardee's burger in their mouth, asking what could they do to help. Like, if people know that you have a real problem and you're not just walking around the parking lot, hey, can I get $5? If they know there's a real problem there, then they won't help.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's human nature to really want to help people in need. I really believe that. And I believe that you need to have a real need, and I believe that you need to be helping yourself too. Because truth be told, I didn't know anybody in that bar, and I weren't expecting anyone to come out because they don't know me either. I'm just trying to see how far I can get so that I won't be out there all day the next day. You know?
And that place, I mean, I've never even walked inside there, but I mean, you looking at it, you wouldn't necessarily think the best thoughts anyway. But I know a couple people personally that work there, and they're good as gold people, and I know they wouldn't work somewhere that wasn't good as gold. So that's kind of cool that I'm not going to name drop them or anything. I got a couple friends that work there anyway. Yeah,
well, and that's the thing. The reason why I didn't mind name dropping is because I don't know the people personally, but I know one thing: I was treated with the utmost hospitality, because they could tell that. Obviously, I didn't live right down the road. I mean, I had to call. It's going to take my wife about 30 to 45 minutes to get there. She had to get ready and get all that stuff. And, you know, I went back the next day and definitely paid more than what I had spent there, and just told them thank you, you know, that it might happen to me again someday. And, you know, it's just every single person that stopped was very, you know, eager to help. And that makes you think, like, you know, it's not humanity that don't want to help people anymore. It's people tired of helping people that's just trying to
take advantage of it.
Yeah, and be lazy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
they ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, and I'll always remember that for sure. About
you'll pay it forward.
Oh yeah.
You probably already have.
So, but anyway, that's the story that kind of reminded me of if you ever heard The Road You Leave Behind. That's basically what it's about. Is 2 or 3 different breakdowns in the song, and people stopping and helping, and like one guy got off the night shift and still stopped to help, and the other one, it was pouring down rain and he still changed the tire, stuff like that, you know.
Yep.
So I don't know, it was just an experience, and I'm glad I was able to share that up here, because it's nice to know that your people you don't even know will do whatever they can to help you.
Yeah.
So
I've got Maddie and Tay, Girl in a Country Song, and you wouldn't think that'd be something that had a life lesson, but to me, again, I've mentioned this before, I like how they call out the industry for their portrayal of women in that song. And I especially like the line where they say, I can slide on over, but you're going to get slapped. They called out the industry in this song, and I think some people didn't even realize it. They've had enough. I think a lot of people had enough of that style of country music. So I just think this is a life lesson that country music, y'all can do better.
Yeah, I agree. My next one's Everybody Out by Hayley Williams. That song, it don't have a direct message. It's basically just she names off a ton of things that people should do in their life, and with, you know, everybody's always busy and running around and going here and going there and stuff. Just kind of slow down, chill out, and do some of these simple things. And it's just a good song. It's a fun song. As most of everything she does is like that.
I've got, and I've mentioned this on another podcast, I think it might have been Story Songs, but I got That Was Us by Tracy Lawrence. Again, that song is talking about how a bunch of rambunctious teenagers go on this farmer's land and they're doing donuts and they're making a mess and they're pulling his crops up and they're just doing all sorts of destructive stuff. And so they talk about who did all that, you know, that was us. And then on the last verse, this farmer's gotten a lot older and the kids have grown, the teenagers have grown up, they're not rambunctious anymore. Now that they come through when those big storms, crops were getting messed up and all that sort of stuff, and this guy was older, and somebody brought his crops in from the field and they wonder who that was. And again, that's where the line comes in, that was us. Those rambunctious teenagers, and I can relate to this because I was a pretty rambunctious teenager. I got in a lot of trouble. A lot of times, the story to me behind this is, a lot of times, don't judge a book by its cover with some of the youth, because there's a lot of things. We all have our rambunctious things. We all got, you know, things we've gone through or things we acted when we're young or kind of immature and stuff like that. But a lot of times, you know, don't judge those people because they grow up to be great adults. They learn from that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the lesson I learned from this.
Yeah, that is a good song. I didn't know it until the other podcast when you were talking about it. I think that was back in the black screen days.
I think it was.
My next one's Behind the Times by Riley Green. You know, to me, when I hear that song, I'm sitting on...
That's the one that mentions Ronald Reagan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, every time I hear that song, I'm sitting there with, like, my granddaddy or my wife's granddaddy, or just, if anyone knows those two people, that's who I'm sitting with, and hearing, like, you know, how you should live and everything, because the man that he describes sitting on that bench is one of the greatest generations our country's ever had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So just everything about it. I mean, it's definitely in my top 2 Riley Green songs. Period. But yeah, there's one line about you know, it's just I don't know. I think I'm a granddad when I hear it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it is a good one. I'll let y'all check that out.
Speaking of granddaddies, that takes me to my last one. My last one is Grandpa Told Me So by Kenny Chesney.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
the opening line, if you don't get in the water, you're never going to learn to swim. He said a snake is just as scared of you as you are of him. And I believe that now. I just go around picking up snakes. No, I'm just kidding. No, I've seen a lot of snakes this year though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's, you know, well, I've seen a few snakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good life lesson that our great-grandparents, our grandparents, our parents, you know, they know what they're talking about. And we should listen to them and learn from them.
Yeah, that's right. I've got 2 more. One of them, It Sounds Like Life to Me by Daryl Worley. And really the reason why I waited so late is I just had a feeling you're going to hit on that. But you had a feeling I was going to hit on there and tipping it.
True.
And honestly, I didn't even think about it. I don't
That's
know why.
good though. That's good.
Yeah. That's kind of like, that's where our podcast leads us sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah, that song by Daryl Worley, Sounds Like Life to Me, I can relate to that recently because it seems like over the last couple months, things are always happening. It's just, I'm like, gosh, but you know, these things happen to everyone. That's just the way it is. Get over it. You know,
It's
just
part
do
of
the
your
best
learning
you can.
patience.
Yeah.
You ain't no choice but to learn patience.
You ain't lying. And I'm just about as impatient person as you can meet. So I'm working on it though. And my last one is Somewhere in the Middle by Cody Jinks. You know, there's one, the line in the chorus says, I saw it all tending bar at night, treating saints and sinners right. It's a good thing to do all the time. You never know who you're talking to, but always know who's watching you. Like, I just think that Cody Jinks is always singing songs about, you know, just treating people good and, you know, being a decent person. And that song there, I think that one part in the chorus is something everyone can learn from. You know what I mean? You know, just because somebody don't, live the life like you do, you can still be nice to them, and they might get saved or whatever. You never know
That's
because
right.
of your generosity. So that's
Never know who you're influencing.
yeah, that's right. So that's all I got for today, man. I hope y'all checked out that Haley Withers song, and that new album's supposed to come out July 28th. I'm really looking forward to that.
I listened to it 3 times yesterday after you sent it to me.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really good song.
It is a good one, man. Yep. July 28th is my mom's birthday, so what she's gonna get for her birthday is the Haley Withers album.
Why wouldn't you? Wish my birthday was July 28th.
Anyway, all right. Well, I hope y'all have a good weekend. We'll see y'all next time.
See y'all.